Thank you guys once again for joining us today. This is our third one, so we're excited that we've been able to do this for a couple times now. Today's topic is obviously about e-commerce, which is really hot right now. And when you pair that up with a really good social media strategy, you can drive some serious sales to your shop. So we're going to be really breaking down some of those tactics that you can use to promote your company. See, make sure. Are you guys seeing the presentation right now? Here, guys. Cool. So, good stuff. Most of you have probably met us at some point, but for the few of us that don't know us, we are Miami locals who are passionate about marketing. We both have our own agencies focusing on digital marketing in different capacities. But we're really proud that we can be here and help you guys out and help you push your personal businesses through digital marketing. So we're going to go through the breakdown of what the agenda is going to be like today. And obviously, we're going to start off with a little bit of a state of the union when it comes to e-commerce and retail stores right now. Then we'll dive into Shopify and some of the e-commerce platforms that you can use. And then get a little bit into the conversion side, tracking that and making sure that you're driving real conversions. And then finally round it out with a Facebook ad strategy that you can leverage to make sure you're pushing it out to the right audiences. And we'll finish it off with a Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions, we'll save it for the end and we'll gladly answer those. So to give you a kind of a brief understanding, we'll give you some stats, some facts that are going on right now. And there's a lot of these major chain retail stores that are closing down their brick and mortar. They're struggling a lot right now. You've heard of Macy's, Sears, you've heard of Sports Authority and a few other major retailers that had to close hundreds.
They closed last week, I think. They closed like all of their retail stores.
Yeah, it's nuts. Payless, like all these different brands. So they're either fully closing or they're converting to e-commerce. But with that said, B2C e-commerce sales are expected to continue to grow by 50% in the next 5 years. So, while brick and mortar and retail is going down, e-commerce keeps going up. And when it comes to social media, Facebook is actually one of the leaders when it comes to driving conversions. They're actually listed as having 64% of all buy button referrals. So this is links that drive to your site with the intent to purchase. They've done it the most effectively compared to other social platforms. And when it comes to the audience you're trying to target, most people right now are targeting the millennial audience. It's the next wave of influencers and people who are going to have money to spend. And right now, they're the biggest spenders online, even though they're in the lower income bracket, generally speaking. So they spend about $2K a year on e-commerce. So as this group continues to grow and gain more wealth, they're probably going to be more comfortable spending money online because they're used to this. They grew up in this era. So if you guys need a little recap of all that, it's retail stores are closing down their brick and mortars. E-commerce continues to grow and is becoming more sophisticated and complex. And social media is a solid channel for you to use to be able to drive those conversions to your e-commerce online shop. So we're going to dive into it by breaking down some of the platforms that are available. I'll hand it off to John because he's a little bit more of an expert when it comes to handling these platforms.
Yeah. So guys, thanks again for joining us. We're really excited to provide you guys with some feedback on just e-commerce as a whole, and then real tangible strategies that you can apply to your day-to-day for your online stores, or if you're having an idea for starting a store. So essentially, there are three big platforms right now, right? The first one being WooCommerce. WooCommerce is essentially a plugin for WordPress. So what it does is it adds an e-commerce attribute to a WordPress website. Now, the pros about it is it's free. Just like WordPress, it's free. All you're really buying is hosting and the domain. You can do a custom design. They have a lot of different themes that you can find. Third-party extensions basically extend the accessibility of the site, and they're excellent for SEO. Because WordPress is a blogging platform, of course, it's going to be amazing for your SEO attributes. Now, the cons with WooCommerce are You need a lot of plugins just to have the basics for a e-commerce site. So things like abandoned checkout and other options that other platforms already have on a basic level, you have to pay extra for WooCommerce, and it can kind of make the website heavy and convoluted. Now, Magento is the next step, and I was a big fan of Magento. We used it for a few years in building out these sites for clients, but Magento can be a cluster muck. I'll say sorry. So it's very powerful in regards to you can add tens of thousands of products on Magento, but it's not really user friendly. The back end is extremely robust, so it's both a pro and a con. Because it's a pro because you have a lot of options, but it's a con because you have too many options.
Yeah.
And then there's also a lack of social integration, and there's no support. A lot of the extensions for Magento are made by users, so they're not really vetted properly. So sometimes you can have malicious code and other things embedded in there that can make it difficult. Now, our favorite right now is Shopify. They do an amazing job with e-commerce. Everything is pretty seamless. So in the dashboard, you can check out your ban and checkout. You can do your orders. You can fulfill USPS and international orders via live integration with USPS. There's free themes. It has amazing support, clean code. It's an amazing platform. And I'm not just saying that because I'm just saying it. It's really the best one out there right now. Joey, you're funny. And then just a last thing to reiterate on the cons, Shopify is $29 a month, and the themes can be pricey. So if you're going to purchase a theme from Shopify, you're going to be spending $170 to $180. But they have some really high quality free themes, especially the one Brooklyn. If you're thinking about it, it's a free theme, really user friendly and simple to use.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely checked it out, and it's clean. It gets the job done, and you can actually customize it to your liking too.
Exactly. And just some additional features with Shopify. The SSL certificate is already included in the site, so it's already HTTPS security protected. There's also professional themes, integration with Facebook. They have 70 payment gateways, so if you're using ACH, Shopify Payments, Stripe, which is Shopify Payments, you can integrate it with all of them.
Huh.
Brandon just stepped in the building. Oh, both two Brandons.
No, it's the same one.
Brandon Belay and Brandon Rodriguez. What's up, fellas? So that's just to reiterate some of the other things with the Shopify features. Do you want to break this one down, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, and before we really get into the nitty gritty of like what it's like to promote your online shop and you're ready to, push out these ads on social, you have to have these basic things in mind. If you don't have this set up, your ads aren't going to perform well. You're not going to drive conversion. So obviously have a solid foundation of photos, videos, content that you're going to be pushing out, because this is going to be your bread and butter. It's what represents your brand, and it's what's going to put you in front of these consumers that you want to buy your product. If you got crappy content, then you're going to expect crappy results. Messaging and tone. What is this message you're going to tell them? Is it more of an awareness message at first? Is it more of a buy now message? Are you trying to be more salesy or a little bit more lifestyle? This is the messaging and tone that you need to figure out before you get to that point. And then obviously at the end, a clear call to action. You want them to visit your website. You want them to read this ebook, whatever you're trying to push. Make sure it's clear so that there's not any confusion as to what they should be doing.
Absolutely. So before we get into the specifics of how to structure your ad, how to basically create that funnel for the customer, we want to talk about tracking your conversions. This is probably one of the most important parts of your strategy, because you want to know exactly where those conversions are coming from. Right. So what we do is we do UTM tracking using Google Analytics URL Builder. So just to explain that, you first want to have Google Analytics installed on your site. As soon as you launch your site, you need to have analytics installed. I'm assuming 80 to 90% of people usually do that in the beginning, so you're tracking your data. And then what you want to do is you want to track specific campaigns so that you know where your sales are coming from. So for example, in this conversion details, this actually shows up in Shopify for a specific order. You can see that they visited the store from Facebook. The first page they visited was the product page, and then you can see the campaign below that in the source and the medium. So the way we set this up is we're going to show you on the next page actually how it's set up. But you need to have Google Analytics installed, and you need to install an extension on Chrome called Google Analytics URL Builder. Totally free. You don't even have to sign up for it, and it works like this. So, actually, let me show them in live environment. So I'm just going to open up. Actually, yeah. Let's do the Google URL builder.
Oh, you want
it on my? Yeah. So we're actually going to walk you through it. It'll take
Cool.
Yeah. So you just do a Google search for Google URL builder extension. Sorry, typing fast, guys. And then, so this is. Let me see if this is it. Yeah. So this is the extension, right? So all you do is you're going to add that to Chrome. So once you add that extension to Chrome, this is just another opt-in. You're going to go to your product page. So I'm going to visit our product page, for example, and this is to track our efforts, right? So if we wanted to sell this product, for example, we have this URL here, right? So what we want to do is, what we want to do is look at this URL and actually create a URL tracking link. So essentially what this does is it takes this link and it adds a tracking attribute to it. So anytime you share it on social media or specific platform, you can track that sale back to that specific campaign. So once you hit that button, this is the link to share. The source would be Facebook if we're doing a Facebook ad. The medium would be CPC because we're probably doing a quick campaign. And the campaign will do Facebook, necklace. Sorry for the spelling, guys. One. And then we just copy this link and put it in our Facebook ad. Now, when we do that, if that equates to a sale, if we have the Facebook pixel installed, we'll be able to see that conversion. And that's just to show you guys basically in the beginning. We want to show you more specifics as we go into it. But make sure you download the Google Analytics URL Builder. And for any campaigns that you're running, any link that you're sharing, make sure you create these URLs because then these links drop into analytics and you'll be able to see your campaigns and which ones are causing sales.
Yeah. So we'll come back to the presentation. So we basically covered this section of it with the Chrome extension. There's a few other ones too that I've used one called Effing Amazing Tools, and it gives the URL builder there, and it saves it as a preset too. If you know you're going to do a lot of them for Facebook, it'll autofill those fields, so you don't always have to manually put it in. The only thing you would change is the campaign. So I think now we would go over to the tracking conversion side, but obviously the Facebook pixel is super important to have on your page if you're going to be running ads because it's the ultimate tracker when it comes to conversions.
Absolutely. So I think we have it on. So yeah, so the Facebook pixel. Hey Brandon, would you recommend hold your question until the end, and we'll be happy to answer everyone's questions as soon as we finish. We just want to go through the presentation first, but just put it in your mind, and then we'll make a note of this to save it, and we'll answer it right as soon as we're done. So, guys, the Facebook pixel is probably one of the most important pieces if you're going to be running Facebook ads. Essentially, the Facebook pixel is a piece of code, kind of like Google Analytics, that you add to your website that pulls data for Facebook. So you're able to measure cross-device conversions. So what does that mean? So let's say someone visits a specific product page on your site. If you have the Facebook pixel installed, you can actually set up a campaign that says, hey, if they visited this product page, but they didn't make a purchase, I want to target them with this specific ad. So it lets you make really detailed and robust ads specific to the buyer intent of what people are doing on the site. So another option is automatically building audiences for website visitors to retarget and then creating lookalike audiences. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, when you know that these people have gone to your website, you know that they've engaged with your brand in some way, they've been exposed to it at least. So now you can take that audience that Facebook has created of website visitors and craft a lookalike audience off of it. So it's people who are within a 1% of matching the same kind of interests, behaviors, all those things that your existing audience has. So it's basically looking for people that are like the website visitors, and now you can push ads at them because they are more likely to be responsive to your ads and to your content because they already have found other people with similar interests and tastes that have responded to it. So
exactly. And just to elaborate on what David said, there was an example. We had a client that had 200 sales. So what we did was we created a lookalike audience. And Facebook goes out and just finds a specific attribute of these people and mimics that and just find other people with those similar attributes and target them with that ad. So that's just a case in point of how it really happens. Oh, whoops, sorry, I went too fast. So just to go through the Facebook ad strategies that have been working well for us, there's 3 tiers, right? So the first one is research. We go on Facebook and we actually research audiences. Now, using our custom spreadsheet, which we're going to share with you guys at the end, you can create targeted audiences with detailed content. So by researching targeting, what we mean is we go on Facebook and we set up an ad, right? We'll set up that ad, and then let's say we're going after people in the travel niche. We'll go and we'll search for specific categories of people within travel. So I actually want to show you guys an example once we get to that point. And then you start to make these lists of saved audiences you can target with Facebook ads. And then once you do that, you record the targeting in a spreadsheet and you create those audiences in Facebook. We're actually going to show you the process that we use. You want to go? Oh, okay.
No, it's perfect.
Okay, cool. And then with PPE, once audiences are created, you make PPE ads on Facebook to test and increase social proof. And PPE just means page post engagement. So you create content that gets engagement so that you can get social proof for your ads. So essentially what you're doing is you're putting this ad out there to the public and you're trying to get likes, comments, and shares. You're not even trying to get a sale instantly. And the last piece of that funnel is conversion. Now with your PPE ads that perform well, you create conversion ads for add to cart / purchase intent. And then that way you're using the ads that already have social proof, already have engagement, people seeing that people are liking it. You can actually use that as a testing mechanism for your products. And then you can start $5 a day for 5-day ads and then scale accordingly.
Yeah, and I think to kind of round it back with the PPE ads and getting social proof, the important part is that people, if they were to come across an ad and they saw that it had 1 like or 5 likes, they're not going to react to it if they saw it had 100, 1,000, 50 comments, whatever it is. It's a lot of a different experience, and they react to it differently when it comes down to it because they see that other people have engaged. It's gone through the tests of social media and and got an engagement, so they feel like, okay, at least I'm more open to it, as opposed to nobody else has touched this. Why would I be the first one?
Exactly. Okay, cool. I just asked if we're going too fast, too slow. Daryl said good pacing. Okay, cool. Thanks. So when it comes to the research part, right, that first piece that we just talked about, you can use a spreadsheet, and we'll show you in the next screen, to record your audiences. So what we do is we'll usually use virtual assistants to go and pull this data because it can be time consuming. But you can also do this on your own in the beginning to initially build up that target research. So for example, if you're on Ads Manager, because we don't want to break away and go into that and confuse you guys a bit, if you're in your Ads Manager, you're going to go to Audiences. Now, when you go to Audiences, you can create all the audiences you're going to target with your Facebook ads. Now, we started this class to understand that you have a basic understanding of Shopify or e-commerce as a whole and a basic understanding of Facebook ads, right? So what you do is create those targets. So for example, there's a list of our targets. Travel Websites 5 is segmented to 130,000 people. And then these are the interests that we do. Now, when you're creating these interests, you want to keep it between about 80,000 to 400,000 individuals. You don't want to go higher than that. You can. We've seen other guys that have done 1, 2, 5, 10 million niche, but those are once you've already scaled your ads, you're already getting consistent sales. The pixel already knows who to go after. If it's a new Facebook pixel, you need to collect this data. So you create these audiences within mind to about 80,000 to 400,000 max. And so this is an example of our spreadsheet. So we have the virtual assistant go and pull all the interests, right? So they make a complete list of interests and how many users are in those interests. Now, the next section, for example, is the saved audiences travel websites. Right. And this is directly from Facebook. Hey, yeah, let me just answer this really quick. Yes. So yeah, this is directly in Facebook, and essentially we create these audiences in a spreadsheet so we remember them, right? So Airbnb, Booking.com, TripAdvisor. If it has the plus sign by it, that means it's a narrowed audience. So to give you guys an explanation of a narrow audience on Facebook, That just means that we're not targeting Airbnb or Booking.com or TripAdvisor. It's actually Airbnb and Booking.com and TripAdvisor. So they have to like all three to be in that niche. Because if we went after Airbnb, Booking.com, and TripAdvisor all as a whole, it would be 10 to 15 million users. Ariel, yes. So yes, in the spreadsheet, users does mean Facebook users. Exactly. So you can find, someone on freelancer.com or a virtual assistant to go and pull all this data for you. So you don't even have to do it. And then you just come back and set up all of your ads. And then, yeah, so that's spreadsheet. That's just an example of it. And then, so for the PPE part, or the page post engagement, this is the second piece of the funnel, right? So with the ad strategy, like David said, do you want to talk about the image content a bit? Because it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the visuals, there has to be a unique way that you're presenting this stuff. You can show the product off. Obviously, here you're showing someone wearing it, so it's a little bit of a different setup than if it would just be on a white backdrop or something that's standing alone. You had a little bit of a human element here. So visually, just make sure that you have these things in place and you have things that are going to be more socially accepted in that sense. You want people to engage with this content. You want people to react to it. If it just looks like an ad that you would see in a magazine, it probably won't react the same way. So you have to make sure that you have social in mind when you're creating this kind of stuff. So I'll let you get back to the ad strategy side of it.
Yeah. So you want to have clean imagery. We use 1200 by 1200. It's kind of a cheat code because we go into the page post area to do this. So just to get you guys started, so let's say you're going to get your ads ready to do PPE, which is page post engagement. So this ad's main focus is to just get engagement. We're not trying to get sales from it. You might get a few here and there, but it's not going to be scalable. So what you do is you go into page posts right here on your Facebook ad manager, and you create your post there. Now, Facebook calls these dark posts because you're creating these page posts, but they're not necessarily going to be in your news feed. So when you create that page post, you add a big image, 1200 by 1200. You're going to have 3 to 4 lines of content, and then you can use emojis to really get people to stop. And then the last one, you're going to have your link. Now, I've seen these structured where you have a link down here, you have another integration, and that's fine. And then that's it. That's it for that ad. You just have it like this, and you put it as a PPE ad for page post engagement. This is to test the engagement of your product to see if people actually like it, because you could have a product that you think is amazing. You put it out there, if people aren't really engaging with it, your targeting might be wrong, or maybe you need to pivot on your product. There's a lot of things, right? But as you can see, this has 400 likes, 26 comments, 45 shares. So people are seeing this and going, okay, this is a cool product. So that's our social proof. And that's the PPE side. You let that run for $5 a day on each target for a few days to gather some of that data.
Yeah.
And this is the PPE. So when you go into your Facebook ad management, you choose Facebook feeds for targeting and you choose engagement.
No, I think that was pretty much it. Because I mean, at that point, this is where they would go to set up.
Yes, the conversion ad. Oops. Okay. Yeah. So after the ads strategy step, the last piece would be conversions, and that's right here. So those are ads that actually have the intent for people to purchase, add to cart, or do other alternatives. We should probably bring that up, right? Yeah. Sorry, guys. Give us 1 sec. Just getting up. We just want to show you a live example of a purchase intent ad. Purchase intent ad. So, yeah.
So let's say that we were just going to create.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's say you've been running your PPE ad, it's got engagement, you've got a ton of people looking at your content, you have likes, comments, shares, all that good stuff. Once you've run it for about a week, you can set up conversion ads. Now, conversion ads are great because these actually go after the intent of what individuals are doing on the site. So what will happen is once you have that pixel installed, these lights will be green on this dropdown, and then you can choose the intent of what you want people to do on the site. So what I usually do is add to cart or purchase. Those are the two that are most important, because add to cart is people adding to the cart by leaving the site. The purchase also includes that as well. And then there's purchase intent. So let's say you set this campaign up, you have it live, you're using that same ad because you did it as a dark post. You can actually access that ad from your existing Facebook post. So you already have an ad ready that has tons of engagement. You do purchase, or you do add to cart, and you set that ad out to go. Now, when you're doing your targeting, let's say you get a few purchases within a few days. Facebook's going to say, okay, we know the exact persona of the individual that would buy this within the targeted niche. So let's go ahead and refocus the ad towards that. So Facebook takes about 2 or 3 days to really optimize your ad, and then it'll go into full beast mode. You'll be getting purchases, add intent, add to cart on a continual basis. So that's just to recap that. I didn't want to go too crazy with it, but just to give you guys a general example. So I'm just going to rewind one more time to recap, and then I'm going to let David do his thing. So number one was research your targeting, create your spreadsheet, and get that started. Second piece, set up your ad and promote it using PPE or paid post engagement to get those likes, social shares, and comments up. And then with that same ad, you create a conversion ad for purchase and add to cart intent.
Yeah, it all makes sense. When you break it down that way, it's about structuring it and having a funnel that you can follow. So right here, I mean, you can talk more about this, the Retarget app, which is dope because they do a lot of work for you.
They do. Yeah. Retarget app is it's an app for Shopify where it'll essentially set up dynamic ads for you. So let's say someone visited your website, they look at a specific product that they didn't buy. Facebook will actually serve that person ads based on the products that they looked at. So it's dynamic ads because it's specific to the products that they looked at on the site, and it works in the background. You don't even have to do anything. With Retarget app, you do have to give them admin access to your ad account, but it's definitely worth it because it automates that piece of your ad budget and your ad targeting. And if you're not using Shopify, you can also find, you can do retargeting or dynamic ads yourself via Facebook ads.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's why you see all those follow-up ads that you were checking out on this website, and the next thing you know, you see that same piece of clothing on Facebook and everywhere else. So, and then the important part to all this is obviously A/B testing along the way. You should be trying out different pieces of content. You should be trying them out with different phrases, with different sentence structure. The visual should be different, all this stuff, so that you can really find out what's truly working and what's not. You can't really try out one ad with one image of this product, and because it doesn't do well, you say, you know what, let me pivot. You really don't know. Maybe it was just a bad image. Maybe it just wasn't phrased right. So make sure that you're trying out different styles and different types so that you can make sure that you exhaust that before you make a decision as to, is it worth continuing with this product or should I pivot? And then obviously based on your budget, you don't want to A/B test 100 different types if you have $100 budget. You got to make sure that it fits within the budget. You're not spreading yourself too thin. So make sure that you make that decision based on how much you're willing to spend on ads. And then this example that John put together for Love Travel Co. is pretty awesome because he's actually seen the results firsthand. He built this from the ground up and runs it on Shopify and does all the promotion for it. So you can see some of the results right here, strictly from Instagram. We made 2,500 and they reached over 100,000 people in just a few months. And this is by building content over time. This is building a brand from the ground up. So I'm not sure if you want to add anything else to this, so they kind of have an idea of like some of the charts you have here.
So just to recap, this is just from Instagram sales. I do have to give a lot of kudos to Dan. I know he's listening. Dan DeMassa, he also has an e-commerce store as well, where he was like, hey, Instagram, you really need to leverage it for your store. Image content, reaching out to influencers really helps you grow that. With that being said, we got 2,000 sales and 56 orders in the last few months from just Instagram alone, which is pretty awesome. And that's from just posting image content, having trackable links in the URL, getting some influencers, right? Sending out products to influencers who will share the product and tell people about it. And this is a pretty fresh brand. It's only about 5 or 6 months old, but it's really been a cool kind of case study or side project to work on to really get ingrained in this e-commerce world.
Yeah, for sure. And in my experience, also, I haven't done direct e-commerce for it, but for my custom filter website where we design Snapchat filters, we funnel it the same way where we push it through social, and we drive people there. So and we built it from the ground up. So seeing this firsthand, building a project that you can test out some of these concepts is good. I'm not sure where each of you stand with your respective businesses or where you're working, but if you have a project that you can test it out on before you make your real e-commerce store or your real project that you want to take off, that's also a good idea as well, because that way you get to test it out, and that way you don't put all your eggs in one basket before you take the leap to go into e-commerce full time.
Exactly.
So to give you a little bit of a recap of everything, Shopify is obviously our favorite, and it's really the best bet right now when it comes to e-commerce. They just have so many features, and they're the best fit right now for promoting your shop and integration with social. Once again, track and A/B test everything. Use those Google UTM builders to make sure that you know where your traffic is coming from, so that your website can make sure it knows, all right, well, that email newsletter you sent out actually drove a couple sales, or maybe that social media post that you sent out, you didn't think it was going to do well, but it drove X amount of sales. You got to be A/B testing this stuff to figure that out. And then once you get this information, don't be discouraged if you don't really get sales right off the bat. Just know that you have a bunch of data now that you can look at. Whereas if you would have done a magazine ad or any other traditional method, you probably won't have that data because there's nothing to track. There's nothing other than the amount of reach they had. So, and really the next step, we haven't planned our next webinar, but what we wanted to do was ask you guys what you feel is the most pressing need, your biggest challenge when it comes to social media and for marketing in general, so that we can come together and figure out what's the best way to provide value and create another webinar or another workshop that will serve you in that way. So you could join our Facebook group. We have a little community building there, and that way we can all have a conversation and figure out what the best way to move forward is. So we'll just jump into the Q&A session now. I know a few of you guys had some questions earlier on. Feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, we can give you some other examples of stuff we've worked on and talk about some other issues when it comes to e-commerce.
See some questions coming.
Yeah, we see a couple of. Yeah, it should be fun.
Got a few typing right now. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We're really excited. Ask away. We want to make sure we answer all of your questions accordingly.
Yeah, they're typing.
Brenda said, "What is the best way to track form sends?" Brenda, form sends meaning like how many people are completing the form on your site?
Yeah,
Probably, right?
If she's talking about contact form fill out, yeah, that would just be setting the goal to the submission button, right? So at that point, if you want to fill out the form, you would tag the submission form with as a goal on Facebook, meaning, okay, they filled out the form, so they converted in that instance. Conversions also don't have to mean sales. Just know that it could be they opted in, like we said, they added to cart, all these other stuff. You can set those goals and those conversions to be, obviously, we mainly focus on sales because that's what most people want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Brenda, you can, to even just simplify the process, just like David said, just have, when you fill out the form, go to a thank you page, and then just count the thank you page as a goal conversion in Google Analytics.
Yeah.
And then to add an additional one, if you have the Facebook Pixel installed, you can do the lead form page or thank you page as the result, and then you can create Facebook ads around that as well.
So he's asking, when you A/B test, when you A/B test, and we want to,
I think let me look a little bit.
So is it creative first or copy? We usually run a few different types. We'll run, the different visuals first, because honestly, we're living in a social world where it's visual first. We'll test that out, and we'll see which ones are the best performing. Then we'll narrow out just those few, and then try out different copy and different calls to action to see what performs better. So, just think about it. When you're scrolling through, you're stopping because you're seeing an image first, and then you're reading the copy after. Usually, even though Facebook copy comes first, Instagram it's the other way around. Just we usually mess around with the creative, the actual visuals before we mess around with the copy. But this is still either way. You should have multiple variations before you even launch, so that you can have that on hand and then decide when to A/B test.
Exactly. Daryl, what's up? Daryl said, let me rewind it a little bit. In what ways do you leverage your dark post social proof once you have it? So that was the second step in the funnel to set up the page post engagement ad to get that social proof. The third piece is to actually use that same ad for your conversion ads. So if you created a dark post, it has a page post ID. So when you're setting up your Facebook ads for those conversions, when you're going to the specific ad that you want to use, just plug in the page post ID for that post, and you can use that post that already has tons of engagement for all of your conversion ads. Let's see. Hope that answered your question, Daryl. Alyssa said, would there be a different strategy for a service-based ad? What would you recommend to get the best results?
So when it comes to service, are you still doing it e-commerce style where they're booking your service and paying online beforehand? Because in that case, you would kind of keep it the same way. You're just trying to drive conversions to do it that way. If it's just general, you want them to respond to you, you want them to reach out and figure out what makes the most sense of how you're going to work out this deal, then, you do have a different approach because you're probably talking about a bigger commitment, right? We're not talking about buying an item and that's it and it shows up at your house. We're talking about working with someone and providing a service. So that might take a little bit more of a lead up to that than just, pushing a service and hoping that someone's going to click it. I don't remember the last time that I saw, a service-based ad pop up and immediately react to it. You got to get hit a couple times. You got to have different touch points before you hit them with the actual sale and the call to action. So, there is a slight difference, but if you're still approaching it as an e-commerce store or selling a service with a checkout process, which some people do, then you treat it the same way.
Okay, cool. So Melody said, is it a good idea to promote your product on all platforms? Where I work, our audience is mainly people over the age of 40. We are trying to target a younger crowd, but should we wait to grow our audience on the platforms we currently use before expanding to Instagram? You want to take that one? That's a good one.
Well, I think really you should jump on Instagram ASAP. I don't think that there should be any waiting for that. And I don't know what other platforms you're focusing on other than Facebook, really, unless you're seeing a lot of results from Twitter, which is rare, unless you're seeing a lot of results from Pinterest, which some people do. The main ones really are Facebook and Instagram.
So we use LinkedIn a lot, Twitter and Facebook.
Okay. So, I mean, LinkedIn, if you guys are obviously doing well on LinkedIn and you're doing B2B stuff like that, then continue there. But if you want to reach a younger audience, they're not really on LinkedIn all the time, if ever. I can ask around and I'm pretty sure most people will be like, they won't remember the last time they logged into LinkedIn. So it depends on your audience. It depends what you're trying to target. You should definitely jump on Instagram because you got a good chunk of people that are under 40 on that as a big user base. But you should still funnel, look at what's working, what's not, and don't just be on all the platforms. Hone in on a couple and do a good job of it, because otherwise you're just spreading yourself thin.
Exactly. Yeah. Nicole said, "Hi guys. When starting a Shopify account, the name and logo is a must. Should the name be a registered business name in some biz, or can that be done after the Shopify account has grown?" Well, that's a good question. Let me see if this is the best answer. For me, whenever I launch a store, what I try to do is kind of vet the project. So once it makes $500 in profit or in sales, whatever comes first, I'll go ahead and register it in some biz. If you're going to be opening multiple stores, it might be a good idea to start maybe a holding company and have those stores under that moniker. That way you can open up more stores and then just set them up as a DBA or an S Corp or wherever you prefer. But at least you have your holding company that encompasses all of them, so you can change the name or add more stores in the future. Yeah,
the counterpoint to that, and we actually had a discussion recently about this. It's like, if you were to do this with every store you opened up and then a month later, 2 months later, even half a year later, it closes down. Now you created an entire corporation for something that doesn't exist and you paid it and all that. So it is kind of good to vet it and and test it to see if there is a market for it and if you can do something to make money with it before you officially trademark or before you officially go in and create your corporation. It's fine to do it, and you could retroactively pay all that stuff anyway.
Brandon said, would you recommend using Shopify Themes or use a WordPress and integrate it? I recommend Shopify Themes just because Shopify vets all of their developers. So all those developers the sites have been tested by Shopify users, by Shopify's customer service, by their developers. It's just a more vetted product. That's why they're more expensive. If you're going to use WordPress themes, you can. However, you don't know if there's malware, you don't know if there's anything. These developers aren't as vetted as on websites like ThemeForest as those that Shopify actually works with. That answers your question. Let's see. Oh, we got Brenda. Brenda said, do you know what type of content does Facebook currently give priority to? Videos less than 2 minutes, images, articles, website links. Great question.
I think videos are still the main one that are getting a lot of exposure. Just keep an eye out on live video for sure. They're rolling out a few different things now. 360 photos, 360 video, 360 live video. So whenever they release new features and new content types, they usually promote that because they want users to be more engaged with that kind of content. So they're going to push it. Right now it's video. They're kind of bringing back text in a way with that new background color thing where you can write out a status update that's text only, but at least it visually stands out because you can choose what color is the background. But I still believe that video is the best performing, the most priority is being placed behind that. And usually you get better results. In my experience has been videos that perform better. Sometimes you get an amazing photo that kind of tells a story, or that you follow up with a good piece of copy that can sell. But in general, video does a lot more in selling. A picture's worth 1,000 words and a video's worth 60,000 words. It's like, because it just gets so much in so little.
Exactly. And just to add on what David said, if you have a static product and you haven't done a full-fledged video shoot or anything like that, you can actually use multiple shots of that photo and make kind of a panoramic video, or just a video showcasing the product from different angles that you take with your iPhone, with some editing tools on your phone. So you don't necessarily need to have this big production for content, especially video content, and you can actually just showcase your product that way. Let's see what else we got. Oh, people coming.
She mentioned something about posting video natively as opposed to okay,
I see that.
Yeah, definitely native. You're gonna get more reach and more exposure when it comes to Facebook if you post it natively on there, as opposed to sharing a YouTube link. They want to push video on their platform. They want people to stay there. They don't want outbound links that much. That's why they came out with the instant articles. That's why they came out with other things to keep people in Facebook as opposed to sending them out. So that's, videos definitely do it natively.
Okay, let's see. Is that it? Was that everyone? Let me check one more time.
Yeah, if you guys have any more questions, we still have a little bit of time.
Here we go. Daryl said, do you find Facebook does a better job with optimizing for conversion versus just mainly bidding with CPC? I think you got pros here. I like that. So you want me to
probably have a better. I haven't really messed around with
conversion versus manually bidding with CPC. Yeah. So Facebook algorithm is insane. Essentially, that's why they're one of the biggest social media platforms on the planet. So with conversion ads, it's a very fine line, and this has been tested with thousands of dollars. So the process essentially is, once you set up that conversion ad, Facebook is going to optimize that campaign for you. So let's say your campaign is $10 a day, and you've been running it and you've been getting consistent sales. Now you're like, okay, it's $10 a day. Let me increase this to $70. So if you increase that to $70, that basically restarts the algorithm for Facebook, and their optimization disappears, and then they have to re-optimize again. So essentially, the best way to test is to test $5 a day. Once you get that first sale, increase 20% per day, and then as long as the cost per acquisition is low enough to be able to make you a margin of sale that you want, 40, 50, 60%, 70%, whatever you like, then you can keep continuing. So I definitely think that Facebook optimizes for conversions really well. Some people are good with manual bidding as well, but if you're just starting kind of with the intent ads, it's best to do optimize for conversion and let Facebook do its thing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Facebook really does want to serve their advertisers as well. They want to keep it user friendly and the platform for people to be on it, but they want people to come back. So they're not gonna turn around and do something that's not gonna benefit you and give you false numbers like that because they want to make sure that they're optimizing and providing value that way. It's not 100% certain. It's not 100% bulletproof as to their stuff. They're also a lot of testing going on their side. It's like what works, how does this work, how does this algorithm make sense for us to operate both user friendly and serve advertisers. But I can guarantee you that it's the most robust one compared to anything right now in the market in terms of social. You're not going to find the same kind of stuff on LinkedIn ads or Twitter ads or even Snapchat ads. So yeah, I would trust them to a certain extent when it comes to them doing the bidding and optimizing for it because they want to make sure it's working.
Brenda said, how can we know if our content on our Facebook Live has a copyright issue? On some of our latest Facebook Lives for a new digital program, the Facebook Live has been cut by Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that's very fresh right now, the whole copyright thing, the whole flagging news, whether they consider it fake news or not. This stuff is going on right now, and there's not too much set in stone as to how to avoid it, other than I usually give credit to anything. If we use a soundtrack that's not ours, you give credit to the artist and make sure it's out there. They might still flag it and take it down because you probably didn't pay for that. But if it's an original piece of content, you should be fine. If you're leveraging other people's content, then be prepared to credit the source or have it taken down because they're out here to protect everyone's interest too. It's their intellectual property. You don't want to infringe on that.
Brenda said we did have Hulu's membership.
Okay.
Camille said, how do you guys feel about the shopping functionality on Instagram? Do you have any recommendations for utilizing Instagram? So let's see. The shopping functionality I've seen on a couple pages, which is pretty awesome on Instagram.
Click to buy the
yeah. I think that's going to be huge, especially because it's going to drive that purchase intent up. Essentially, it's going to shorten that width of people going to the site, doing this, doing that, takes you right to the product page, you buy or you leave. So I think that's great. Recommendations for utilizing Instagram: post content daily. You want to post if you're a product page and you're selling products. It doesn't always have to be about the product. Kind of create a landscape of content around that. So if you're a fashion line, you want to post a dress that someone wore specifically at an event that is similar to one of your dresses, or maybe ask questions, create that engagement option for people to comment and ask things. I know David, you can definitely add to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that you can do when it comes to it, and it's how you want to run your brand at the end of the day. You can make sure that you're showcasing the products while showcasing lifestyle, while maintaining a brand presence that's, consistent and do that seamlessly on Instagram. It's such a great visual way to portray that. So when it comes to shopping, I know that functionality is rolling out slowly. It's only right now available to like certain, like Jack Threads and other retailers that have it. But I guess we'll have to wait until they really fully roll it out so we can mess around with it and see how the best way to actually leverage it and if it's effective. Because
and Camille, you can also with Instagram, I would try and get into the influencer space, because one misconception people have is they think influencers is extremely expensive. They don't want to spend money. I mean, there's some influencers you can pay $20 or $30 and they have a page of 50,000 engaged users where you can be on their page for 3 to 5 hours and just point traffic to you. So there's a lot going on in that Instagram world, essentially. So I would definitely think about Instagram influencers. One good way to do it is, this is one example we have, is we'll create a spreadsheet and then we'll basically tell a virtual assistant, hey, go and find 200 people in the travel niche that have 15,000 or more followers, maybe 15,000, like 40,000, because once you get 100, 500, 200K, it can get more expensive. But yeah, you could definitely have any resources to get influencers.
I think we shared that in the last, on the Facebook group, we have a list of resources and tools that we use. And some of that included influencer networks and different opportunities for you to reach out to these people. and connect with them to see if it makes sense. So you could definitely check it out there if you join it. If not, we'll find a way to send you that file. We have it available on Google Drive. But yeah, it's definitely, we can send you those resources. Yeah, we're gonna drop it in right now into the chat in case you want to check it out.
Oh, she said I'll check once you get me.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, I think.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Camille. We got Brenda. We should ask her one more. Oh, no, she just. Oh, she's back.
Thank you guys that stuck around and
yes, we appreciate it.
Went through the entire process.
Questions.
Yeah. Awesome. Twitter is the most intensive in terms of effort you need to put in to get a return, because it actually involves you reaching out, tweeting at people, connecting with them, having conversations that way for there to be any kind of results. Like just sending out tweets and hoping that people are going to click and do whatever you want them to do it's not the same. There's not as many people on it. They're not on it as much either. So it's just very difficult to get results that way. Especially when you compare it to Facebook, Instagram, and the other ones that are just visually dominated right now. They're just being outplayed right now by every other social media platform.
Yeah, and Twitter doesn't even have. I feel like individual data on you. They don't have that many data points because you just have your bio.
No, and we know a few people that have tested out Twitter ads and they don't do well for them for the most part. Some people have gotten results, but overwhelmingly, I've heard that it's not that great of a platform to use for their ads. And there's certain communities that are still on there. I know that there's like some niche groups like aviation and politics and a few others are very good when it comes to Twitter, so you can have conversations and connect with people there. But for the most part, people end up offboarding and connecting offline or going to a website or reconnecting on another platform to have further conversation than just tweeting back at each other.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's it. No more questions? Any more questions, anyone? We good? Oh, look at that. Just in time. Oh, wait, we got some feedback. Who's that?
That's awesome.
Okay, guys.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
I hear you too, man. Hey, welcome, Nicole. We're glad. Make sure you guys join the group. We're going to be really engaging on the group, posting content, posting blogs, posting stuff that's really going to help you. Not just fluff, real legit stuff. Never forget. Who is this guy?
So yeah, we'll definitely follow up with you guys on Facebook so that we can have that conversation and see what you think the best way to approach whatever challenges you have, so that we can craft something together and put together another webinar that'll serve it. All right, guys.
Well, all right, guys.
Take care.